Hi there. We promised you a big guest, and he's with us due to technical problems. Networks be congested. We've had to convert Hitesh Oberoi, the managing director and CEO at InfoEdge India, from a Zoom call to a regular phone call. Hitesh, I hope you have better luck this time round. You were telling me about how InfoEdge was ahead of the curve and managed to transition 4,500 employees before the Prime Minister announced the lockdown. You know, a lot of people look up to you and to Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani. In fact, we promoted this interview also saying we're getting you for valuable tips. First up, how was the transition? What kind of challenges did you face? And was it very expensive? Did it put you out of pocket? Because if not out of pocket, but if it cost a lot, I'm sure a lot of startups and founders worry about that.
So it's been relatively smooth up till now. As a company, because we're a digital company, we were better prepared than many other sort of traditional enterprises, I would assume. A lot of our people already have they have laptops, so they were able to quickly sort of, start working from home. We were able to sort of put a virtual private network at work, in play for them to operate. But yes, we have, a large sales team. So we have over 50 offices, close to about, 1,500 people on the field. We have a very large back office team as well. And a lot of these jobs are not as high paying as a tech jobs. So enough of these sort of people don't have big sort of, homes to operate out of. Many of them did not have access to laptops, so we used to operate out of a desktop at office. We were able to move some of the desktops to people's homes. We procured some extra laptops. We were able to buy internet connections for them. And I think almost all of them are now able to operate from home. Of course, some of them, because they were staying in a PG accommodation, many of them were told to vacate their PGs, and some of them have gone back to their hometown. But we're trying to get them to operate from there as well. So it's been relatively smooth. We, of course, had to invest a little bit of money in procuring dongles and upping our internet connectivity in sort of moving desktops to people's houses. But I think it's worth it.
But Hitesh, as the big boss at InfoEdge also, it's a test of leadership, right? Sorry to ask this question. Have you been a good leader, you think? How have you dealt with all of that in the last few days?
Sorry, dealt with what? Can you just repeat your question?
Leadership. It'll be a big test on your leadership as well. You have to be even more patient, more compassionate, more reasonable, and also, keep the morale up and flying.
Yeah, so, these are trying times, but because we've been around for a very long time, we've seen a couple of slowdowns before this as well. So 2008 was a very difficult period for our company. There was a point in time till September 2008, we were actually growing at 35-40% per annum. And within a month, we went from 30 plus 35% to minus 25%. And that phase actually lasted for 3 or 4 quarters. So we've seen, a recession before. And as a company also, we are a lot more stable. We have enough cash in the bank. We know that business will come back at some point in time. It's only a matter of time. Hopefully, the government will be able to see the crisis through. And in the past, in 2008, of course, everybody was impacted. But in 2010, we saw a V-shaped recovery. So business came back, bounced back very quickly. We are hoping that the same will happen in the month, maybe if not this quarter, but in a couple of quarters from now. Of course, one has to see this period through, and a lot of people are impacted in our company. Their health and safety was our primary concern, which is why we sort of decided to move to work from home even before the government announced the lockdown. And yes, we are prepared that, the collections will be impacted for a very long time. But we are hoping that this crisis will blow over, the storm clouds will pass, and business will return to normal in a couple of quarters. Let's see. So one step at a time. But right now, the job is to sort of ensure that people are productive. They are able to work from home. We are over communicating, engaging them in all possible ways. Conducting a lot of training programs. Where, our sales team, for example, they're used to going in the field, they're used to meeting 3 customers a day. They have to now learn how to do Zoom calls. So we're supporting them in that endeavor. So all that is happening as we speak, and in the hope that things will normalize, if not in a month, at least in a quarter or two from now.
The problem though, Hitesh, is that while we're all adapting, we have seen the economy come to a standstill, right? We are in a lockdown. And the fear is that the V-shaped recovery that you just referred to, not just in India, but for any economy, any country, is going to be dependent on a medical outbreak. I don't know when that's going to be. Some say a vaccine is, 18 months away. Some are hopeful that we could have one in a few months. I think everybody's just looking to their own personal crystal ball and coming out with gazes. So, till then, what's the mantra? Cash is king. You hang tight, you sit on it, you cut back all expenses. Is that what you're thinking? Is that the advice that you're also giving to your portfolio companies?
Yeah, till then the mantra is survival. The mantra is cut down all non-essential expenditure. So we, for example, also cut down our marketing spend. We are cutting down on capexes. We're cutting down on all stuff which we think is not very important at this point in time. Postponing a few decisions which we would have taken otherwise in normal course. Basically waiting for the situation to stabilize. I think what is more important is that the situation stabilizes so that there is predictability in what's going to happen going forward. Right now, things are very unpredictable, very uncertain. One doesn't know, for example, whether this is going to last for a month or for a quarter or for a year. So therefore, we have to be cautious. And this is the advice we're giving to all our employees and to all our investing companies as well, that the mantra right now is survival. And, and like I said, in the past, we've seen the market come back. And every time there's been a slowdown, there's been a crisis, it has never lasted for more than 3 or 4 quarters. And I agree and understand that every crisis is different, and this is also a health crisis and not just an economic crisis. But let's see. So the mantra is going to be agility and adaptability and constant reviews and, and adapt to the situation as time passes.
Hitesh, they also say that every crisis brings opportunity. Yesterday, we had the U.S. Federal Reserve former chairman Ben Bernanke saying that coronavirus is not like the 1929 depression. It's more like a natural disaster. In this disastrous times, in this time of crisis, do you think it's like other crises where there can be an opportunity?
Well, there is certainly an opportunity already for companies which are, for example, we try to do our call on Zoom. So I'm sure the traffic on Zoom is going through the roof. So not many people had heard of Zoom till a few months ago, and now suddenly everybody's using Zoom. So companies which are going to make it easier for people to operate out of home, companies which are into essential services, companies which are going to help companies optimize costs, companies which are going to sort of so do all these things and do a great job of them will tremendously benefit from what's happening, because the reality is that every time there is a sort of something like this happens, like for example we saw in the case of demonetization, people adapted to online payments very quickly post demonetization and during demonetization. So same thing is going to happen here. People are going to adapt to new ways of working once the crisis is over, and companies which are able to invest in those areas and companies that are able to sort of adapt to the new way of working will benefit in the medium term. But in the short term, almost every company is going to be impacted. For a month or two, people will have to worry about cash flows. People will have to worry about working capital. People will have to worry about paying salaries. And but if they are able to see that period through, then of course new opportunities emerge. I mean, many companies. The truth is that after a crisis like this, some companies will go out of business also, and there could be also opportunities to sort of invest in newer companies at reasonable valuations. The market is already corrected, as we know, the stock market. The stocks which are, many stocks have already corrected by 50-60%. So there's an opportunity for investing in those stocks as well. But the big hope is that, the market will come back, at some point in time. And this is not going to be the permanent state of affairs.
Yeah, given where the valuations are at the moment, it is being seen as an entry point into stocks, while everybody's still also bottom fishing. But Hitesh, also, is it too early? And you touched upon this point. Some companies may be out of business. In the startup universe, you don't have publicly traded companies, right? Is it too soon already to be talking about markdown of valuations?
So it's like this. So it's so the private companies, they're not listed, so you don't get to see their prices every day. So if a company is well funded and they're able to, survive this crisis, then, because they don't need to raise money, they will not see a markdown in their valuation, right? But companies which are going to be running out of cash, companies which don't have a very sound business, and companies which need to go back to the market, I think they will see a markdown in their valuations pretty soon.
Okay, that's a very fair point that you're making. I want to touch upon one of your portfolio companies, if you'll allow me, because yesterday when I went on Twitter, a part of me said, wow, that's fantastic. Dipinder Goyal of Zomato actually came up with a series of tweets where he's talking about lending money to his Zomato Gold partners and restaurants in India and overseas, which I think also goes with the entire theme at ET Now of Rise with India. What do you think of that?
So I'm not I'm not well versed in what Zomato is doing at this point in time, but I suspect what he meant was that he will help them raise money, because I don't think Zomato will be able to fund their partners, because for that, they need to have a lot of cash in the bank. And though they recently raised a big round, but that's not their core business. I think what maybe he was hinting at is that he will partner with fintech companies, he'll partner with NBFCs, and try and help his clients raise money to meet their working capital requirements in this time of need. And I think that's the right thing to do, because the entire supply chain on the restaurant side has been impacted by this crisis. Many restaurants are not operating. Their services have been disrupted. Delivery services have also been disrupted to a large because of the lockdown. Though, of course, Zomato is now working with every government to ensure that their sort of delivery boys are able to deliver. But these are, like I said, these are trying times, and people need to worry not just. In businesses, we have this concept of business continuity. So I think this is the time when business continuity is going to be put to test. And companies need to ensure not only are they in business, but they continue to. But they also need to ensure that their partners and their vendors, on whom they depend, continue to be in business for a long time.
I'll read out to you what Dipinder Goyal said. He said, for our gold partners dining out, we'll be facilitating working capital loans to get through this tough time. Then he gives an email address where they can reach out to. Terms and conditions apply. FYI, we can only help facilitate loans to gold partner restaurants since the transactions flow through us, and it is easier and cheaper for our fintech partners to underwrite it. Trying to figure out how to help the rest of the restaurant community, unquote. This is what he tweeted.
Listen, we have a lot of data on our customers, and we work and partner with the fintech companies out there. We will share this data with them. Maybe, I don't know what exactly he has in mind, so that they can give loans to these restaurants and help them tide over their working capital requirements. For the gold partners, because they are the bigger ones, they are the bigger restaurants, maybe it'll be easier to do. For the others, he will try and figure out things over a period of time, along with the fintech partners he has.
Okay, that does make sense. And through these times, are you reaching out a lot more to your investee companies? Is that happening more during the crisis?
Yeah, I think the name of the game right now is over communication and engagement. With employees, with customers, with vendors, with investee companies, with everybody, with the government also, because, like I said, it's very unpredictable, it's very uncertain time, and we need to get clarity, we need to get stability back, and we need to also ensure that panic does not set in. And therefore, right now the mantra is, and for every business, should be over-communicate with everybody.
I have to ask you this question. You and as well as Sanjeev Bikhchandani are called also market mavericks, having a Midas touch and all of that. Is this also the time to be making investments in new companies or reinvesting in existing companies? Is that happening at all in the community?
I think, till the situation stabilizes, every sort of business owner, every CEO, I think their primary job is to ensure that the investments they've already made whether it's in their internal businesses or whether it's external investments, to ensure that these companies get all possible support. Because, the internal businesses need to be supported in a time like this. Employees need to be supported in a time like this. I said vendors sometimes they need to be supported. Then we've already made a bunch of investments. We've made about 15, 20 investments in the last few years. They may need support going forward. So we need to ensure that they get support and be able to survive the crisis. So that is the most important thing at this point in time. Of course, if a company is cash rich and if a company, is not very impacted by this sort of crisis, then of course, and there are new investment opportunities which arise, and I'm sure many will, then they should be considered as well. But the first step is to protect your existing business and to protect your existing investments. After that, rest after that.
I actually asked you this question because, like I said, a lot of people see a crisis as an opportunity. Hitesh, before I let you go, you are also a listed company. Any message that you have for the shareholders? You talked about how in 2008 you survived it. You survived it so fantastically. Any message that you have for the shareholders? Have you taken stock of, how much of a growth of the company, what the hit is going to be on your P&L, all of that?
See, right now, what I can say is it's very hard to predict what's going to happen to revenue and collections and billing going forward. Certainly in the short term, billing and collections will be impacted hugely. It's not as if you're going to see a 5 or 10% dip. We will see a substantial sort of decline in collections for the next couple of months at least. But it's very hard to say what's going to happen beyond that. What we have in our control is, like I said, our costs. And there we are taking all possible steps to ensure that we cut down on our non-essential expenditure, so that we are ready when the market comes back. And what we don't want to cut down certainly on is our long-term investments in our product and technology and platform, because we saw in 2008 as well that because we did not cut down our investments in our core businesses, when the crisis got over, we actually came back a lot stronger and we gained a lot of share over our competitors. So we don't want to cut down on our core investments. We want to continue with those and put enough money in the bank to ensure that that happens. Revenue is very hard to predict at this point in time. They will take a substantial sort of hit in the near term. But we're hoping that this crisis will go over soon and we'll be back to normal in a couple of quarters.
Hitesh Oberoi, it's such a pleasure talking to you. I think you had some very valuable tips also for the startups and founders that are tuning in. And here's an open invitation to you that, in the next few days, you come back here right on Startup Central. We won't do a Zoom call. Maybe we'll try Skype or a WhatsApp video call next time. I also wanted to let you know that I recently had Deep Kalra and Rajesh Magao of Make My Trip. I interviewed them together since their board rejig. I don't know if you saw the interview, but in that, Deep Kalra said, I decided on having new responsibilities and elevating Rajesh because I saw how well Sanjeev Bikhchandani and Hitesh Oberoi were working, and I said, hey, even I should try that. So I thought I would just sign off by letting you know that.